Welcome back to Nick Lenz's movie review, episode number 59. This time I'm reviewing the 12th Star Trek film released, Star Trek Into Darkness. Yes, and before I get started with a review of the film, yes, I do know about the whole thing about Benedict Cumberbatch and the whole thing of Benedict Cumberbatch being Khan and the fact that the studio played a bunch of shuttle games to hide the fact that he was frickin' Khan. Yes, I knew full well. I've heard about this already. I think it was bullcrap the fact they actually pulled this. As a matter of fact, they've done this twice. I can think of a studio has done this, where they've actually hid the fact, despite the fact everybody has pointed out so obvious was this, that the next time this would happen would be 2 years later with Spectre, when Christoph Waltz was casting in the film, where the studio's, oh yeah, it's Oppenheimer. No, it's freaking Blofeld. Yes. But the only reason I can think of it works in the case of this, because J.J. Abrams is known for being secretive. Yes, he is known for doing this. Of course, Benedict Cumberbatch is not the only big-name actor in this movie. We also have Peter Weller, a.k.a. frickin' RoboCop in this film, playing Admiral Marcus. Yep. Now, I also know about the interesting scene Carol Marcus, when she's changing, and of course Kirk being Peeping Tom, sees her in her black underwear. Yes, it's black underwear. And yes, it's the most talked about thing when it comes to this particular film. Now, this film was released the same year as the award-winning Gravity. Yes, Gravity, a movie that won a ton of awards, and got Sandra Bullock an Oscar. Yes. Of course, this film was also released in the same year as three superhero movies that were kind of hit or miss. We also had Hunger Games, Hobbit, and of course one of my niece's favorite movies, Frozen. Yes, Frozen was released this very year. Let me look up see who actually played Carol Marcus. Let's see if I can find her on here. Yeah, actually, she's a beautiful woman. Now, those of you who are curious though, like, was there something explaining exactly what happened between this and the previous film? Yes, there is. Carol Marcus from Alicia Eve. Yep. Now, the thing is, when this film came out, it was roughly 4 years after the last one came out. Now, not the first time this has happened, where we have 4 years between films. Let's see, the first time I can think of this has happened was... Actually, I think this was the first time this happened I can think of. Yep. And there is an explanation of Khan, how he became what he is. Yeah, there's a miniseries released by IDW that basically explains Khan's backstory, where somehow, because of him turning a super soldier, well, basically because he turned into a Superman, and various other experiments, that's what turned Benedict Cumberbatch, despite the fact this guy is supposed to be Indian, even though the original actor was Hispanic. Yes, the late Ricardo Montalban was Hispanic. And, oh yes, in case you're wondering, do I know about the whole thing of this, the accusation this would be accused of being a ripoff of Wrath of Khan? Yes, I know full well about that. Yep, though the latest wrapped up a good Star Trek film, not a really bad one. Now, this is set roughly like 1 year after the events of the last film, where Kirk is simply just saving our planet from being taking these people from being, like, let's say, killed by a volcano, though he's working together with Dr. McCoy, of all people, and of course they run, and they jump into the water, and what's in the water? The Enterprise. As for how the heck the Enterprise even got in the water, this ocean, never explained. Not even the Countdown comic explains this. And that one had Henry Mudd in it, though they decided to change Henry Mudd's gender to be a woman. And they actually keep her ship on board. They actually reference Harry Mudd in here. Yep. And because of the fact Kirk, of course, lied because it was a cold infusion device that Spock planted inside the volcano. Yeah, and of course the events that happened here does get brought up later on in the film, like of how Spock and Uhura talked about this. Yeah, of how the fact that Spock nearly died, and Kirk, I at least gotta praise the fact Kirk is not as pervy as he was in the last film toward Uhura. Thank God. I think even Roberta Orci probably realized, even Chris Pine probably realized, though, that was probably inappropriate for Kirk to do, to trying to seduce one of his future officers. Yeah, though he wouldn't say much about doing it to Carol Marcus because he wasn't technically a member of his crew. She was, of course, she's brought later on board as the substitute science officer. Okay. So yeah. Though, of course, before all this happened, we have the actor who played Mickey Jones from Doctor Who pop up in here. Yeah, I'm not kidding. And he doesn't say a word. It's a completely silent scene. It's like he's worried about his daughter. She's dying from some unknown disease. He don't say what it is. And then Khan shows up. Everybody knows this freaking Khan. That's why I think his name is John Harmon. He gives him portion of his. He gives him something basically to do. Like he gives him some of his blood, gives him his daughter, and then of course he goes to commit the crime, which apparently involves taking a coin, putting in a glass of water, and causing this whole building to be destroyed. It's later revealed this particular archive building is part of Section 31. Yes, Section 31, the recurring element from Deep Space Nine in the 23rd century. Though they did have the Section 31 pop up in Enterprise for about 4 episodes. Yep. First time was a 2-part cleaning episode. The other 2 times was basically what people consider to be the actual finale for the series, not the awful finale we got pretty much the same week. Yeah. The whole thing of all the like these are the voyages. An awful episode. An episode not only the viewers hated, but the cast hated it as well. Yeah. And then, of course, because of what Kirk lied in the reports, he gets removed as captain, possibly back to the academy, and Spock is still freaking commander. Though it's later revealed that Pike took a demotion to captain and made Kirk his first officer, demoted to commander, and Spock is transferred aboard a different ship. And then, of course, they have everybody gather over a room. Of course, this is where we first meet Aaron Marcus. And then, like, of course, Kirk points out the obvious, like, why are these top admirals in the room? And all of a sudden, here's Khan in a hover car outside his window, and he fires a turret gun to this room of admirals, killing everybody in this room except for Kirk, Spock, and Marcus. These 3 only people who actually survive. Pike actually eventually dies after Spock does a mind meld with him. As for why he decided to do this for, in the case of the last film, he did it for gaining intelligence. This really made no sense at all for him to do. Just to get Pike's final thoughts. Excuse me. And of course, Kirk just takes a gun, fires the thing. The car itself is eventually destroyed, though Khan beams away. Where is being way to? Kronos, the capital of the Klingon Empire. Yeah, of course, this film, I should point out, this film has completely terrible logic. It's like, for some reason, I'm not sure why this is, apparently, that the Klingon Empire is just like next door to the Federation, like, that damn close. I'm like, wow. Damn. Of course, they also show before he gets there that apparently Praxis has been destroyed already. Yeah, it's hinted at that Khan was the one who did that. Okay. Though this is relatively about 40 years prior to being destroyed in the actual timeline. Yep. Oh yeah, they do give an explanation of exactly how Khan even got here. Apparently it was because of Nero. Yes, Nero's brought up in this film. And basically, because of Nero, that somehow Starfleet found the Botany Bay. They don't show this. It's mentioned by Khan later on after they capture him. And Al Marcus basically knows that Khan is a genius because, well, he's a Superman. So he wants to make Starfleet militarized, as in like a big standing military, even though it kind of already is. Despite the fact that people who write Star Trek keep writing the fact that Starfleet is exploration. It's for exploration and science stuff. It's military. Yes, viewers have constantly called this out since the 60s, and yet Paramount won't allow its writers to acknowledge this at all. Nope. Though what I think is basically like a wartime Starfleet. That's basically what I think. It's basically peaceful time. That's what people tend to think, that we're talking about basically not technically like let's just say military, even though they kind of are. I mean, they have military ranks, they have military uniforms, they have weapons on board their frickin' starships that can easily just decimate an entire frickin' city, and they call them explorers. Go figure. Yep. And of course, Kirk convinces Admiral Marcus that, well, he's on a planet that's not actually, he's not on, like, let's say, a Federation planet, he's on Kronos. And Kirk points out that if it's just him going after Khan and basically on an official basis, it's perfectly fine. Though they do have like a model thing in his office, and one of these models happened to be the NX Enterprise. This actually hints at something to pop up in the next film when it comes to NX ships. And of course, he gets, like, Kirk basically requests two things. One, he wants command back to the Enterprise. Done. Two, I want Spock restate my first officer. Done. Simple as that. Of course, Sky meets him later and points out the whole transporter thing, that apparently Starfleet stole his theory. Somehow, this is never explained in the film. In other cases, unlike the last film we had in the deleted scenes, this film felt like, though, there were certain portions of the thing was deleted, and I've never heard anything that explained the deleted scenes of how stuff is basically just never explained in this film. And then they go on the ship, and apparently there's a boatload of torpedoes brought on board. Now, they don't explain these torpedoes for about 20 minutes. Yeah, because apparently there's a new warp core on board. Scotty is very nervous for these torpedoes, and he really wants to look inside these torpedoes because he's very nervous might disrupt this warp core. So Scotty just steps down. The little alien guy that popped up with him in the last film leaves too, and of course Scotty goes off, and of course Chekhov, because apparently he hung out with Scotty a lot, made chief engineer. Okay, so he signs off the torpedoes. Okay. And then they go straight to Kronos, basically go to Clean Empire, basically inside a neutral zone. So technically they're in neutral space, so they're perfectly fine, but they had to stop because the engine got sabotaged. Though before they left, Carol Marcus was aboard, though she appears as Carol Wallace as substitute science officer. Okay. And she says that she was sent here by Aaron Marcus. Like, okay, fine. Probably need extra help. Okay. In case you wondered, the whole thing with the android that pops on board the ship, that's actually explained in the Star Trek comic book done by Joe Johnson, published by W. Fantastic comic. I highly recommend it. It actually explains what happened, how he got the way, how he's even here, and how basically his backstory. And they had to stop, and of course they have Kirk, Spock, and Uhura go to Kronos to confront, well, Khan. Though they use these torpedoes to try to kill Khan, though they go confront him anyways. And then you have Carol Marcus, who's a weapons expert. Okay. Her and Dr. McCoy go there. Dr. McCoy makes sense, because I'm sure even he's curious about these torpedoes. Okay. So they open these things that are about to explode, and they open them up, and there's actually a person inside. Yes, apparently inside all these torpedoes are a bunch of Supermen. Yes, explain later, Khan did this. And then, of course, they run into, like, they get down the ship. They basically use the Harry Mudd ship at this point. They go there, and of course, there's a brief conversation I have follow up what happened at the beginning of the film about Kirk, Spock dying. Of course, that's basically smoothed over. And Kirk basically points out, are you two fighting? And of course, it's smoothed out. Now, I at least gotta praise Kirk for not trying to interfere in a relationship. Heck, even in the next film, he doesn't bother to do this at all, because even he knows meddling in other people's relationship like this is completely would be out of character for him. And now, would he have done this in the original series? As far as I can tell, he never did this in the original series where he actually interfered with somebody's established relationship. Though he did sleep with a woman who was supposed to be engaged to another guy. Though that was for like one episode for a woman that was very annoying. Yep. So they get on the planet. Now, I should point out though that we do see the Klingons for the first time in this film. Now, they did pop up in the last one, but they didn't technically make a physical appearance in that film. Though they did make an appearance in the late, but we did get a chance to look at them. The redesign of these Klingons are actually not that bad. I actually don't mind the redesign that they did of the Klingon ridges they have. Though this particular version, from what I've heard, this design of Klingons would show up in Star Trek Discovery, a show I haven't watched yet, but my dad has watched and he loves it. Though I've heard Peter David doesn't like it at all. Yep. Though they actually cleaning these on the show instead of speaking all in English. Yep. So yeah, they get into a big fight with the Klingons, like big firefight, and then here comes Khan carrying 2 Gatling guns. Of course, well, normally these guns basically carrying 1 is basically heavy up a 2, but since he's a Superman, easy write off, kills the Klingons, and of course Kirk basically says, "You're under arrest for you're killing Captain Pike and a bunch of admirals," and then he just wails on him, basically beats the crap out of him until he basically almost is exhausted. And apparently beating up Khan made him tired. Okay, and of course then he's brought aboard the ship, brought inside this cell, which is basically shown in the back of this case. Yeah, he's put in this very cell. There's this weird CGI effect of how they get samples blood. We have some sick idea. Now I should point out this is not like a force field. It's apparently some kind of like I don't know, kind of organic wall, whatever. They haven't really explained what this is. Takes his arm out, gets an injection just to see what samples blood. They talk for a while. Of course, they reveal the whole thing about the scene about Nero and stuff like that. They're talking for a while, and then a big, humongous ship shows up. A Starfleet vessel that's apparently commanded by 5 people. Now, when I first saw the ship, I thought this was... Now, I think a few people pointed this out, though, when they first saw the ship. They thought this was a Sovereign-class ship because of how big it was. I mean, appearance-wise, it looks like a Sovereign-class ship, but it really isn't. It's just like a big, humongous ship. And for what they explained in the film, apparently Khan was the one who built this thing. Okay. And apparently Marcus, on board the ship, has a completely different uniform. The design itself would loosely be inspired for Discovery. Well, the look of the uniform, it was like little sleeve thing. Yeah, they would use this design, not the color scheme, mind you, the design for the Discovery uniforms. If you compare and contrast, it's very similar design, but they switch the colors. So, what does Marcus do? Open fire on the Enterprise and causing several people to fly into space. And it's basically, I should point out that this entire film, the Enterprise never fires a shot this whole film at all. Yeah, so, and of course, prior to all this happening, Kirk contacts Scotty via a cell phone. Yeah, because the way that the communicators are is basically just the old flip design. But yeah, it's like a freaking cell phone. Like, gives him coordinates to look into wherever this base is at Jupiter, and that's what he discovers the ship. And he hides on board. That's how he gets there. So, Khan and Kirk basically decide to go on board to get Scotty. Okay. So, they basically fly over there. And this actually is the second film in a row they use EVA suits. In a way. But this is actually... It seems that, though, the design of these suits are based upon frickin' Tron. Yes, not the classic EVA suits in the original series. Oh no, let's go with the Tron design for some reason, where it basically fits them perfectly fine. So they look like practical, like space suits, like they would in the original series. Even Next Generation used the design. So my guess is the costume designers must have either 1, took these costumes from Tron Legacy, or 2, they must have ripped off the design of these suits from Tron Legacy. Of course, they have this visor on. The way the visor works is like you basically go straight, and this is the brief, of course, from the Enterprise. They get involved with this tiny hole, though Scotty, of course, has to run across this gigantic room. And of course, there's this officer there. Of course, he knocks, and of course, the guy himself gets shot at this base, and Kirk and Khan basically are on board. And of course, well, Kirk is basically eager to betray Khan because he doesn't like him very much. And while this is going on, Spock contacts Spock Prime. And he asks, like, I can't tell you about the future, but he asks, like, do you know anybody named Khan? And, of course, Spock himself explains the events of Wrath of Khan. Okay, asking about somebody who actually is there makes sense via story-wise. Yeah, okay, you want to go in the future. Fine, whatever. How about something that's already technically happened already, even though they've already counted quite early? So, they have Kirk, Khan, and Scotty get to the bridge, and, well, they basically argue with Marcus for a bit, and of course, Carol Marcus gets brought on board, and of course, Khan in his rage, because Carol's on the ground, he stomps on her leg, breaks it, and then he basically takes Khan and basically, now look up. I'm glad they didn't show this on screen because the way it's described is so gruesome. And Carol Marcus is screaming at this. Basically, Khan crushes Al Marcus's skull, and then has Carol, Scotty, and Kirk being directly back up to the Enterprise, and Khan just takes the ship, goes straight to Earth. And of course, they all basically rush to Earth anyways. And then, of course, well, they be on board the torpedoes, so they remove all the people on board. On board those torpedoes. And, well, the ship explodes, and, well, then Khan does something quite unusual. It's like, okay, so petty, so, like, destination, Starfleet headquarters. And he uses the ship and rams it right into Starfleet headquarters. Like, everybody's like so shocked because like the previous year, they had just seen a drill trying to drone into the ocean, and now a starship is crashing to their main headquarters. Okay, so and they do the whole thing of him hopping around. Of course, Spock goes after him because, well, Kirk basically nearly sacrificed himself, similar way Spock did. Basically, of course, you can see what Kirk is doing. He's like kicking this particular thing, so basically turning some knobs. Kirk dies. Well, apparently dies. And of course, Spock, of course, screams, Khan! And goes after him. And of course, then we come to one of the most infamous scenes of the film, the side-scrolling scene. Or at least the lip-hopping scene. Like, hopping through cars with Spock and shaking his Khan. And then they get into a big brawl on top of, like, let's say, look like a garbage car. It's actually a pretty good fight. And then her is like, okay, can I be up for the ship? Okay, but keep anybody down. Okay, and her goes down, shoots Khan many times. He says, okay, of course they also have McCoy use a sample of Khan's boat to, like, reanimate a treble. Yes, a treble. Remember these things? Yep. So, her points out though, says, we need him to save Kirk. And of course, beam on board, takes a sample of DNA. Kirk wakes up 2 weeks later, and of course, Carl Urban is basically doing an impersonation of, like, a very good impersonation of the late DeForest Kelley. Of course, he's doing a lot of metaphors in the film, which are quite funny. Yeah, that's one thing you gotta praise about him. The whole film, he's basically dropping metaphors, and they're freaking hilarious. At least he's giving something to do in this film. A little bit more than he was last film, though next one he doesn't do much of anything. Somewhat. Let's see, what else? Yeah, Khan's back in stasis. They have a thing of, well, they have a new ceremony for a new stuff at headquarters. And of course, Kirk is granted the 5-year mission he really wanted. They hint at this beginning of the film. And they go off on their 5-year mission. Though this leads into stuff really in the next film. This film, in my opinion, is actually an improvement over the last film. Like, the whole thing of Kirk's perviness is really trimmed down. Like, with the exception of one scene, he doesn't really do anything to her at all. I mean, he doesn't, let's say, touch her breast like he did in the last film. I'm sure Zoe Saldana basically was happy that he didn't touch her in the film. Though I should point out that Zachary Quinto himself is gay. Yep. And of course, in the film, we also get a obvious Sulu fan service with him briefly taking command of the Enterprise, while everybody's like, away. Yeah, that's the thing. Apparently, Sulu briefly took command of the ship. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Too bad Scotty hasn't this. So basically, just Kirk, Spock, and Sulu have had a chance to command the ship. Basically, like 3 people. Yeah, McCoy hasn't done it yet. He has done it in the novels, but not in the movies yet. And of course, at the end of the film, we have it's where Carol stays on board, and she's there for a while, and then by next film, she's like gone. In the film, they don't give explanation exactly what happened to her. She may have been transferred at some point, but at least in the comic book, now I should point out that the first 20 issues of the IDW Star Trek comic, which in this continuity is set between the first film and this film. From 20 to 50, from 21 to 50, it actually explains what it picks up. 21 picks up right where this film leaves off, and 50 ends just prior to events of Star Trek Beyond. That was an awesome arc where they did with Q. I'm going to give this film roughly a 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely a marked improvement over the last film. And some of the I don't know what the big criticisms were for this particular film. Like, what they say is like too Like the whole thing with Khan being too predictable, him being white, not really a big problem. Benedict Cumberbatch is a damn good actor, so I don't really have a problem with this. And just by sheer coincidence, this is actually one of two films that was released in 2013 that he plays a villain. Though in the case of the other film, it's in Hobbit Demolition of Smaug, and he's voicing a dragon. A very awesomely depicted dragon, mind you. Now, of course, Cumberbatch is currently known for being Doctor Strange. A role he does very good at. He's played like roughly about in 4 films so far. He did his own solo film. He popped up in cameo Thor Ragnarok and the last 2 Avenger films. And he's done a really damn good job. That's one thing I gotta praise about Cumberbatch. He's a damn good actor. And it's a shame this guy has never won an Oscar. He's been nominated for like 1 film, and that was playing a guy who sort of developed, who basically opened early version of the computer, who was later out as gay. And he was nominated for that film, but he didn't win. Cumberbatch should win an Oscar at some point. I know Robert Downey Jr., there's a petition to get him nominated for Best Actor for Infinity War. Yep. But I do get the criticism about the whole thing of Enterprise never firing a shot the whole film. But what about the whole thing of like most of the cast, with the exception of Chekhov getting something to do? I do agree. At least I'm glad the fact that every single member of the cast gets something to do. And I love the Harry Mudd moment in here. It's good. So yeah, that's really it I gotta say about this film. It's just a good film. I do recommend it basically people who are fans of, well, of this particular franchise. Well, these particular set of films. I know some people probably don't like this film at all. Though I don't get why. My dad and I went to go see it went to go see this like 6 years ago, and we had no problem. We actually both loved it. Yeah, we love every single Star Trek film, though he might disagree with my opinions on Insurrection, but yeah, he's at least seen every single film. Yes, he and I went to go see this in theaters. Yeah, while my mother's basically off seeing something else, we went to go see this. Yep. Yeah, so next episode, when I get a chance to find DVD, review on the final released Star Trek film released in theaters, Star Trek Beyond. That'll be episode 70. Soon, when I get a chance to find this. It took me a while to find this thing. So yeah, in the case videos-wise, this is the last video I plan to do today. Tomorrow, I roughly plan on doing about 4 videos. Reviews newest episode of One Punch Man, Black Clover, along with news and chapter manga, if it doesn't get released this week, and of course Fairy Tail and the next Star Trek review. Okay, but to you, see you next review. Bye.